Hello guys and welcome to another video. I know before you come at me, I know it's been a minute, but I'm here to continue to bless your screen with my pretty face. Hello guys, shalom. I greet you all with the love of the Lord. Alright, so today we have a fantastic guest. I can't wait to introduce you to her. She is no other than my mother. But before we get started, I would like to invite you, if you feel led, to like, comment, subscribe, do the things that make this channel blow up as it should. Thank you to everybody that has already liked, commented, and subscribed. I promise you I will respond to every single comment that I get. But for now, grab a snack, get something to drink. This is going to be a long one. Oh, and don't forget your journals because I'm sure she's going to drop some gems. Don't forget to get comfortable. Yeah. So without further ado, let's introduce, I call her mommy, you can call her Auntie Gina. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
To Faithful Journeys with Toya. Before we get into anything, can you please appreciate the merch? Alright, so if you don't know, I have started my own merch, Christian merch, and it's called Allure Culture. So they're going to be available ASAP. This one is transformed. The idea behind Allure Culture is to just appreciate scripture through streetwear. Okay, so obviously my mommy is repping us really well and I'm repping us really well too. If you're interested, just leave a comment and you'll be part of the pre-orders just before we launch. All right, so welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Welcome to Qatar. Yes, my mom came to visit me for the past 2 weeks. It has been absolutely amazing. She's been cooking and cleaning and doing the things that mothers should do. Welcome to Qatar.
Thank you.
All right, so introduce yourself. Who are you?
My name is Gina Gabriel. Born and raised in Mozambique in a very large family. We are 9 in a family, 7 sisters and 2 brothers. And yeah, I think that's it. Born in 1966, the 8th of September. I think that's what it is.
Awesome. And how would you like for us to address you as today? Mommy or Mama G or Auntie Gina? Which one is it?
I think I love Mama G. G standing for a grand mommy. G standing for Gina. So I think Mama G.
Okay. All right. So Mama G, take us back to. All right. So for those of you that don't know, I was living in China. However, my mom and dad were not able to visit me in China due to COVID and other reasons which my mom is going to unpack in a bit. But before we get started, I would like for you to take us back to the beginning. How did I arrive on earth? Take us back to...
Okay.
All right, you go.
All right. So I think I'm going to speak a little bit about myself.
Okay.
Who am I? So Gina was born in Mozambique, and how did I come to be your mom? So obvious, growing up in Mozambique at the age of 18, I met your father, who then later became my husband. However, before I met your father, I was a girl that was involved in sports. I was very close to my brother, who he's 2 years older than me. So I was never interested in getting married, or I was not looking for love. I just loved my sports. I loved doing schooling, and that's it. That's who I was. But I met your father, who charmed me. And we got married.
How old were you when you met Daddy?
I think when I met him, I must have been just about 19. And we only got married when I was, if if I'm not mistaken, 22 or 23, somewhere there. I can't really.
And how old was Daddy at the time?
He was, he's 12 years older than me, so I think at the time he was like 36 or 33, somewhere there.
Okay.
He already had 2 sons out of wedlock, and I was just a girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it true when they say when you meet somebody, you know that they're your husband? Was it like an unction that you had in your spirit? Was it like a revelation that you had to justify that Daddy was the one for you? How did you know?
I think around him, what if I remember, I felt very comfortable. I felt very comfortable because he was older than me. The way other guys interested in me, but they were like same age as I. So, but they were not really vibing me. So I went for him because he was matured. He was just suitable for me at the time. Yeah.
And did both families accept you guys like automatically? Was it like, yep, let's get married, we are for this? How did that look like?
No, there were a lot of objections. Firstly, my dad did not really approve because obvious I was in school once. Secondly, I was much younger than him, and there's also tribalism kind of. My dad is from Inyamban and your dad is from Maputo, so the tribes are not the same. So there's a whole lot of those things, but I had a very good relationship with my father. So I explained to my dad, this is what I want, and I just want you to bless me, and
they did.
Eventually they did, only to find that when I also got introduced to his mom, because his father, his parents were divorced. When I got introduced to his mother, she also did not approve of me because obviously I was young, and I don't know how many more girls had gone through that process. And I can still remember your grandmother saying right to my face that I was young, maybe I was coming for money.
Wow.
But I saw no money.
Awesome. Okay, so you're 18 years old, you've met this guy 12 years older than you, you living in Mozambique, both parents are kind of skeptical about this union, but both of you knew exactly what you wanted, and eventually you get married.
Yes, eventually we got married.
Okay, so what happens after the marriage?
So we got married, and your father at the time had just been released from the military service, and he did not want to continue being in Mozambique because of family issues, trauma of the civil war that he was part of, a whole lot of things that he did not want to continue being there. I didn't have a problem. I was just happy to be married and to be with him. So eventually we move into South Africa. We sell everything, the little that we had. We sell everything. We buy ourselves plane tickets and we move to South Africa.
Was this immediately after the wedding?
Immediately. I can still remember that we got married on the 8th of March. I think a week later, we left.
Okay, awesome. And then now you're in a new country with this man, 12 years older.
Yep.
Just the two of you?
Just the two of us.
In South Africa?
Yes.
Okay, what happens next?
So, obviously South Africa is not our country. We do have some money, but we can't speak the language, one. We don't have family, but we've got money, a lot of money. So we lodge ourselves into a hotel. We live for a while in a hotel. Then eventually Daddy had some cousins and his aunt she was older than his mom, but they were sisters in Soweto. So we then moved to Soweto and we stayed with his aunt for a while. But yeah, things were not were not really that easy.
Yeah.
I think we stayed like 6 months or so. I then said to your father that nope, we can't continue living under somebody else's roof. We needed to start making moves.
Okay.
Because obviously the money that we had was getting finished. And yeah, so.
All right. So you decide to move, and where do you go to next?
So we decide to move. We then move from Johannesburg CBD, Soweto into Johannesburg CBD.
Okay.
So this is now the city.
Right.
So we move into the city. We find ourselves a place to stay, which was kind of a communal.
Yeah.
We stay there. We stay there, and Daddy starts looking for work, and I start trying to learn English on my own and try to find work, menial work, which I eventually did find menial works, and Daddy also found menial jobs. But things were not coming together that easy.
Right.
But we kept pushing, we kept going. Then we met a couple that I think 2 years later we meet a couple which was from Gazankulu.
Okay.
At the time it was a Bantustan. So we moved to Guyana.
Okay.
When we moved to Guyana, that's when we started feeling a little bit at home, because the culture was almost similar, the language was almost similar.
Okay.
That's when now we planted ourselves.
Right.
In.
And Gazankulu is today known as Limpopo, right? Or do you
No.
still call it Gazankulu?
Gazankulu is I think the province, and then they fall under Limpopo. But Guyana is the city, the main city.
Right.
So that's where we stayed.
Okay.
And that's where we were based.
All right. And then the language that they speak in Limpopo is similar to the one that they speak in
Shanghai, yes.
in Mozambique.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
So it was okay for your father, because remember, I'm not Shanghai.
Yes.
To me, everything is strange.
Yeah.
I can only speak Portuguese.
Right.
So your dad could speak Portuguese plus Shanghai. So it was easier for us to integrate in that community, which was perfect.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So what happens next? Now you in this new environment. The language is similar, or brings you closer to home, so you feel more comfortable. What's next on the plate for the newlyweds? So
now we in this thing. Daddy eventually finds work as a panel beater, because that's his trade. He finds work, and I had to be a housewife, because obviously can't speak English, can't speak Shangaan. I'm just not there.
Okay.
But I can still remember we met a family that the husband of that family was a school principal. And when I heard that he was a school principal, I then spoke to them. I spoke to them and I said, I'd love to go back to school. I'd like to go back to school. And but again, I can't speak any of the languages.
Right.
So it was a bit of a challenge. So they couldn't help me at the time. And I just focused in being a housewife. But then time went. I then conceived your sister.
Right.
In 1990. 1989 I conceived, and in 1990 Whitney is born. So I raise Whitney while Daddy works. I don't work. And then some months later, you came along.
Yeah.
And now I'm pregnant with you. And then in 1991, you were born. So your sister was born in 1990 June. You were born in 1991 August. Now I've got these two babies, and I was happy to be home at least with two more lives and raising. So I'm focusing on the family while Daddy works, and our life was beautiful.
Yeah.
Was great. It was great. I've got two babies. My husband works. We happy.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So at this point, you've been married now for almost how many years?
That's 1987. That's 87.
88, 89, 90, 91. So about like 5 years.
I think 5.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything is going smooth.
Beautiful. Everything is fine. Everything is nice. I'm loving it being married. I'm loving having my beautiful little princesses. I'm just loving it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we were close. We were a very close family.
Okay, so now you're still living in Limpopo. What's next after you've got your 2 daughters? Everything is nice. What's the next step in your life?
So by then I had now started learning English on my own. I started becoming more confident. Then I took you and your sister into creche and kindergarten, and I then registered myself into a high school.
Awesome.
So I went back to school.
Yeah.
Went back to school, dressed in a uniform, and I had to be a full-time scholar. But it was okay because I was young, my mind was fresh, my marriage was lovely, my family was beautiful, so why not?
Right.
I went back to school. I did my studies in Gazankulu until I completed my matric. Then I finished my high school and and then I think you must have been like 1.5 or 2.5 or 2 years or 2.5, your sister 3, somewhere there. I can't really remember, but you guys were young. Then Daddy thought that I should go into a college.
Okay.
You know, so to further my studies, of which I did. Having to do that, that's when we took you guys back to Mozambique for 2 years.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but I believe that's where I got like the ability to still speak Portuguese. Because I always wondered like, how is it that Whitney and I can speak Portuguese? I guess it was those. How long were we there for?
2 years, because that's what it took for me in college. So we took you back to Mozambique, both you and your sister. I remember my brother came to visit us, and you guys flew back to Mozambique with my brother because we also shared with him what we wanted to do in order for me to get educated and have some form of professionalism in me, because obviously I intended becoming professional, not just be a housewife for the rest of my life.
Okay.
And we had to do what we had to do. You guys went to Mozambique for 2 years. Then after I completed my college, then we went to fetch you back.
Okay. All right. Back
to Gazankulu. Yes.
Okay.
So you guys came back to Gazankulu. We continued. Then by then I became a receptionist at the Gian Hotel. It was called Gian Hotel. I was a receptionist. You and your sister continued going to school. So things were okay.
Right.
Yeah, things were okay. We used to, when you guys were born, at the time that we had both of you, can you believe it that we used to live in one small room? That's where you guys were born? Yes. That's where you guys were born. So it was one small room that was divided or partitioned into a bedroom, and then the other side was a kitchen, a little dinette, and we had an outside bathroom and the toilet.
Yeah.
So we were renting in somebody's property. Yeah.
But we were happy.
Very happy.
Okay.
Very happy. Those were the best years of my marriage life and family life. Yes.
Okay, so we're living in this matchbox, and then?
Then after I completed my studies, I got a job. We then moved into a house.
Okay.
It's a 2-bedroom house. It has a kitchen. It has a sitting room. It has a huge yard. Yes, this is now a house. Oh, yeah, great. It was good. It was good. We had neighbors. It was a beautiful neighborhood. We were just happy. Everything was happy. We eventually made some families. Like we had neighbors on both sides and back and everything. So they became part of our family because we had no family in South Africa.
Yeah.
So we were good. We were
Okay.
very good.
All right. Okay. So what's the next season of your life now? Because it seems like everything was going accordingly thus far. Did we attend church? What was that like? Like, were we believers? Did we fellowship, or was it just us, our immediate family?
At some stage, I used to go to church because behind our house, but this is before you were born, behind our house there was a church, even though I didn't understand anything, but I just loved the concept of people singing and clapping and everything. So I used to like go and come back and go, but I had no understanding.
Right.
So while this was going on, now you guys are around, now we move, now I have a job, whatever. So then Dad had cousins living in Durban. And Guyana is very small. It's a very small city. So his cousins were living in Durban. Durban is a bigger city with a sea and everything. So the cousins now proposed for us to move to Durban because it's a bigger city. His chances of finding better employment were greater, and for me to find better employment were greater. Yeah, so we moved to Durban. We moved to Durban. We get rid of most of our stuff, and we moved to Durban.
Lovely.
So I think you guys must have been like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So,
if anything, I think I have recollection of that part of my life. Like, I think we moved to Bonella.
yes.
Right.
No, Sydenham.
Sydenham.
Remember, we used to live on the ground floor, and then there was an Indian family in the same space.
Yeah.
The owners of the property lived in the same space with Baba.
I remember Baba. Yeah.
So we were in the same space, but we were okay.
Yeah.
And
that's when we went to little villages.
Yes,
that area.
we moved to Durban, and then he had his cousins there. I still had nobody. He had his cousins there that were very, very helpful. Remember Auntie Sheila?
Yeah.
Yes. So she's
still alive.
Yes. So she takes you and your sister into a Catholic kindergarten.
Oh, okay. Oh, little villages.
Little villages, yeah.
Okay.
Kindergarten. So you guys are there, and I had a job in some company that had to do with tourism or something like that.
Yeah.
I worked for a while, and Daddy had a job, perfect job. Daddy had a job. We were okay.
So up until this point, we can say everything was still...
Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
We're now running into like, what, 10 years?
Yeah.
Almost 10 years or 9 years of
living,
us being a family and all of that.
Right.
And where was I? So Daddy has perfect job. I have a perfect job.
We're living in Sydenham.
We're living in Sydenham. It's a beautiful area. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is smooth. Somewhere along the way, I didn't get employment at the Mozambique consulate, where I became a translator for the consul. My status is now growing.
Right.
We've got a good job. We've got a good salary. That's when we decided to buy a house.
Okay.
So we then buy a house. Then we move from Sydenham to Avoca Hills.
Right.
That's when we buy a property now. We buy a property, we're there, everything is fine. We don't have a car, but we're fine. Family is good. So then, by then again, salaries are very adjusted. We rely on each other. We're okay. You guys are in semi-private school. Life is good. So everything is fine. Things are moving. Things are good. We now and then visit home in Mozambique. We're okay.
Yeah.
But then, I can't remember the year, but just before 2000, I lost my job.
Okay.
I lost my job, and Daddy has a very good job. He's earning a very good salary. The dynamics just change.
Between the two of you?
Yes.
Okay.
So now there is, remember, every time that I worked, I relied on my own money. I could take you guys to movies, I could take you guys out,
Yeah.
I could buy you clothes, I could do whatever, help in the house and everything. But now I lost my job. Now I can't do all of those things. That's when things just changed completely.
Okay.
You know, and as much as I tried to find work, I just couldn't find work. And not finding work, it meant that we now solely rely on Daddy's salary.
Okay.
And at the time, Daddy was earning well, and things just changed. We're now looking into either 14th or 13th year of us being a family. 13 years or 14 years, I can't remember, but yeah. So now things are really getting hectic, you know. So whenever I need money for food, I need money for toiletries, and it just got very, very ugly.
Yeah,
it got very ugly. I don't have family. I don't have anything. I can't go and ask. I don't have anything. I've got friends, but I was never raised to go cry by people or ask people for stuff. So I just kept it to myself. But that's when I really sank into a depression.
Okay.
I sank into a depression, and I tried to commit suicide twice, and I was just a mess.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle. I didn't know what to do, and I had no support structure. Things were just a mess. But I had a very good friend, lady friend, that I met while I was at the consulate. She was a prominent person in the company that she worked for. Then she became like a sister to me. Her name is Yasmin Mutala, very kind woman. I don't know if you remember Auntie Yasmin.
No, definitely, I remember that. Yeah.
And there's one thing that when I look at it today, I'm like, but why did she help me? You know, she's Muslim, and I was not Christian, nothing. I was just living my life. So this lady, bless her, she would give me money. She would buy you and your sister clothes.
Yeah.
She would buy me like pads and roll-ons and all these things that I needed as a woman.
Yeah.
She never judged or asked me questions. She was just there as a sister.
I remember us having sleepovers.
Yeah, we used to go to her house. She would come and take me. We would go and camp by her house.
Yeah.
Because Wafika at the time was also very young, so the three of you would be like siblings.
Exactly,
you know?
I remember that season.
And she just made things much easier for me. But remember, she was also going through her own stuff with her marriage, but she
you guys
never
found kind of like solace within to each other.
Yes.
Okay.
But she was very, 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 very much there for me.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I remember trying to commit the third suicide. That's when I ended up in hospital.
Right.
So when I ended up in hospital, I met a very old nurse, the olden day nurse. She was like a mother. So when Daddy brought you and your sister to visit me when I was out of ICU, he brought the two of you to see me. I remember she came into the room with you on the left and your sister on the right, and she came in and she says, "Gina?" And I said, "Yes, ma." And she says, "Who are these two?" I said, "These are my kids." And she said, "Can you see? Sit up." And I sat up, and she said, "Can you see how beautiful these children are?" And I said, "Yes, ma, I can see." She says, "And you want to kill yourself and leave these two innocent lives to suffer. You can't do that, my child. You need to now decide what exactly do you want in life. Are you going to continue fighting because of this man, or are you going to find a way of sorting yourself out?" That's when the lights came on.
So when you were trying to commit suicide, was it because Daddy wasn't looking after you financially, or did you feel like you lost a sense of self because now you are unemployed? Like, what do you think was the root cause for you wanting to commit?
I didn't know exactly what it was, but it was a combination. You know, I never knew what it was to ask him for money for anything. And when I ask, all I get is lash.
Right.
Came a time, I don't know if you remember, that you wouldn't even be at home for like weekends.
Yeah.
Sometimes we would not have food in the house, right? So all those things, to me, it became overwhelming. I've never seen my mom and my dad going through that.
Yeah.
So to me, that became unbearable. I didn't know how to handle. So the only exit I saw was for me to kill myself, because what's the use? You know, I can't feed my kids. I don't have the money. This is a person that married me and brought me into a strange country.
Exactly.
And I don't have family. I don't have anything. And remember, I never grew up in an environment where we would go and ask for stuff. I've never seen my mom and my dad going next door and ask borrow and ask. I never saw that. So I didn't know that part of life, to go and ask from my neighbors and all of that. It was just not in me. The only thing I saw happening to me, so that as a solution, was for me to die.
Wow. And how did daddy take that?
He didn't care.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't care. He didn't care because when this was happening, that's when he started drinking a lot.
Okay.
That's when he started becoming promiscuous. That's when he would spend more time out than in. And again, at that time, nothing is crossing my mind to say he's either having an affair or what. I just see this person being a not caring type of person.
Right.
Completely different from the man I married. Completely different.
Did he act the same way to me and Whitney, or was it just with you?
He paid school fees. I say yes, he acted the same way to you and Whitney, because if he's not buying food in the house, he's not punishing me.
Right.
He's punishing us.
Yeah, okay.
And I have to find ways to feed you and your sister. How do I do that?
Do you remember us noticing the change, the dynamics in the household?
Yes, I remember. You were funny. So I remember one day, because by then Daddy had that car.
The Ford or Cressida?
No, it was Honda. It's either Honda or Cressida, because he bought it second hand.
I think it was the Ford, Cressida, and then Honda.
No, the Ford is gone.
Okay, yeah.
The Ford is
was
gone.
like the first one.
Yeah.
Cressida must have been the second one, and then he had that beige Honda.
No, it was Ford, Honda, Cressida. Cressida was the upgrade.
Yes, the blue one.
Pinked one.
Yeah.
So when he bought the Honda, that's when now he would bring you and your sister from school and to school. So I was at home, I was unemployed. So you guys used to go with him and come back with him. So every Friday you would buy his 6-pack. Remember, there was a bottle store not far from our house. So on the way home, he would stop there and buy his 6-pack. So then I remember when he came, his face was like mopping the ground.
Right.
Like, what happened? Then Whitney said, "It's Latoya." And I said, "What happened?" He says, "Daddy stopped by the bottle store to buy his 6-pack." And Latoya says, "How come you can afford to buy 6-pack for yourself and you don't buy us cool drink?" And your father said, "Shut up! Don't ask me these questions."
That time. Okay.
It was harsh. And you came home crying and he's angry. And Whitney was the only one in the middle of these two. And when Whitney walked in, I'm like, why is Latoya crying and why is Daddy angry? Then Whitney told me the story. I was like, wow. Yeah, it was tough.
So we definitely knew that he was prioritizing his
himself.
own things. Okay, so now Daddy's drinking, you unemployed, the dynamics in the house have changed. What's next? What's the next step now?
Okay, so I eventually I couldn't find work still, so I started introspecting on myself and I said, I need to make the most difficult decision here.
Okay.
And the most difficult decision that I had to make, and that's something that I really leave, and sometimes I ask myself questions, and I used to blame myself, but well, I had to leave my home. I had to leave my babies because I needed to find myself. I needed to find work, and I needed to stop attempting to kill myself. So I had no other option. I couldn't go back to Mozambique because obviously if I went back to Mozambique, the everything would have escalated. But I think also God's plans must have been in motion, even though I did not understand what it was. I then sat with you and your sister. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sat with you and your sister, and I explained, even though you guys were young, but you were very bright. I sat with you and your sister, and I said, Mom will have to leave because I have to go find work, and you guys are going to stay with Daddy for a while. I then left. I left to Johannesburg. I had made some money because remember I took a waitressing job. I worked as a waiter. I saved some money so that I could travel. I bought myself a bus ticket, and I took a small little bag, and off I went. I moved to Johannesburg.
Okay.
When I moved into Johannesburg, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going to stay, what's going to happen to me, but I just had to do what I had to do. So I moved to Johannesburg, and there am I now in Johannesburg. I remember along going to Johannesburg, I met a lady on the bus that I traveled, and she just became a friend, you know. And she asked me, why do you look so sad? What's the problem? I don't know where I got the energy and the courage from. I shared my story with her, and she said, I don't mind helping you. I really don't mind helping you. So getting off the bus, I went with this lady. I went with her. She lived in Rosettenville, which was an area which was mostly habitated by non-citizens, foreigners. There were a lot of foreigners. So I moved in with her. I stayed with her. Her name is Charlene. Do you remember Charlene? Colored. She was married to a Nigerian guy. So Aunt Charlene gave me a place to stay. I stayed with her for a while, and I was now navigating Johannesburg, even though I did not know much of Johannesburg. I had to find my way, but thank God by the time that this whole thing happened, I could now communicate in English, speak and write, read, and I'm not done. So I maneuvered my way there. I first had a job as a shopkeeper, and then from a shopkeeper, I started selling clothes. I sold clothes, I sold food, I sold everything that I could put my hands on so that I could send money for you and your sister back home. Because I remember I opened a bank account for you and your sister. But anyway, Daddy had the cards. So I used to send money, and then eventually I found a good job. And while in this process, my older sister was between Johannesburg and Maputo because she was going through medical treatment. And obviously my sister was far better in financial position than I was. So she lived in Sandton. She had a flat, she had a townhouse in Sandton that she was renting so that she could stay every time she came over to Johannesburg for her medical treatment. So I then went to my sister, visit my sister. She called and she says, no, come visit. I'm in Johannesburg, come visit, whatever. I went to visit my sister several times, but I never told her
what was going on.
What was going on
between you and Daddy?
Yes, I never.
Didn't know.
No, nobody knew. Nobody knew that I was separated. All I said was like, look, I couldn't find work in Durban, so I've moved to Johannesburg, and I'm looking for work because I need to work. I never told her that I'm living under somebody else's watch. And I never told her anything. It took me time to open.
And why didn't you tell them?
I don't know. I think it's what I was raised as.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen anyone in my family sharing stuff.
Okay.
And this, to me, I felt as if I failed. It was a shame. I felt like they're gonna say, "We told you."
Okay, because they didn't want you guys to get married.
We told you.
Right.
So I just kept this to myself, and I said, "This will eventually be okay." So one day I just shared. I broke down and I told my sister. I said, "Look, please don't judge me. Please don't say anything. Just hear me out." So I then told her the story, where I was, what I was at, and she says, "But I'm not gonna laugh at you. I'm not gonna say anything, but I think you're being a bit selfish because this is a house that stays empty for months. You can easily move in and stay here. It's okay, you can stay here while you go and look for work." That's when I moved from Charlene into my sister's home.
Okay.
And then that's when now I found a job at
Is it Fame Power?
no, I found job at DSTV, not DSTV, yes, MultiChoice Africa. MultiChoice Africa.
Okay.
On MultiChoice Africa, I got employed on Angolan Portuguese channel, which covered Angola, Mozambique, whatever. I was in a call center. Then from there, my career just blossomed.
Right.
Now I've got a place to stay. Now I've got a better job and all of those things.
And the relationship with Daddy? Are you talking? Or
Nope, we're not talking. We're not doing anything. Remember, I used to come whenever I had time, like month end. I would go home to visit you. But this was about my kids.
Okay.
I go home, I visit, I come back to my work while I'm building myself a savings so that I have money to pay for a deposit and get my own apartment, and then come for you and your sister. By the time this happened, when I now got a little apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, kitchen, little diner, whatever, this is now, you are now in grade
10?
Somewhere there,
10,
10 or whatever. So then I go home and I speak to your father and I say, "Look, I've got a stable job and I'd like to take the girls."
No. It was my birthday.
It was your birthday?
I turned maybe like 14-ish, 15. And then you asked me what I want for my birthday.
Yes.
And because Daddy and I had been butting heads because we were very similar, and like the way that I used to challenge him, it used to make him feel uncomfortable. So by the time I got to grade 10, I wanted to now commit suicide because Daddy and I were butting heads. And then you asked me what I want for my birthday, and I said, honestly, I just want to move from here. I want to come and live with you in Johannesburg, or I'm going to kill myself. I remember that conversation.
So then I spoke to Dad.
I
spoke to Dad and I said, I now need to take Latoya. I can't move Whitney because Whitney was in grade 11.
Which was going to be difficult.
And in South African government does not allow children to move in that way, unless really
life or death type of thing.
But I would have disturbed Whitney because you guys were doing very well, so it was much easier for me to move you than to move Whitney. So then I took you over, though it wasn't easy.
Right.
I took you over. I found your school, and you continued with your schooling while Whitney was on the other side. Whitney would only come during holidays.
Okay, so at this point, are you divorced, separated?
We just separated.
Just separated.
Yeah, we're separated. No thoughts of divorce, nothing. I'm just trying to survive, to ensure that I can have my kids, I can be stable, and I want my children. I don't want anything to do with my marriage now. I just want my children.
Yeah, and the years are increasing.
The years are going.
They're going. Separated, haven't officially divorced.
Yes.
Because I remember the divorce, all the separation happened when I was like grade 5, grade 4, and now I'm in grade 11. So it's been a few years.
Yeah. So then, there you are with me. I remember the school where I took you, it was quite expensive. Now for me, now I have to pay my own rent. I have to take you to school. I have to pay for transport because I don't have a car. I have to go to work. So then I had a conversation with him to say, look, you got to help me somewhere here. You got to help me somewhere here because I can't do it on my own. Thank God. He then came to the table.
Okay.
So he was paying part of your schooling, and I took care of part of the schooling as well, and I took care of the rest. And I was also paying for Whitney, and he was also paying for Whitney. But we were okay in taking care of both of you.
Okay.
But we not in good terms. We're not in good terms. I'm bitter. I'm so bitter that I got taken from far away from my country. I'm in this country where I don't have family, I don't have anything. I'm just going. I'm just going. And I'm just doing what I can do. And I'm going. So eventually, I met someone, a young Nigerian guy, Jeba. We met in a bus, and he sat next to me and he started sharing with me the gospel. He started speaking to me about gospel, and I had no understanding of gospel. I had no understanding, and this guy was just irritating. But he never gave up on me. He kept on talking. Eventually one day I said, okay, I'll come with you to your church. He said, please, Sister Gina, come. So I went to the church. When I got to the church, I found something very, 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 very beautiful. The love I received, the kindness, the warmth. You know, even though I don't understand anything about Christianity or church or anything, but I just loved the love. I found family.
Right.
So eventually I planted myself in that ministry, and I started learning about the Bible. I started learning about forgiveness. I started learning about kindness. I started learning all these things. So it was a process that I was going through. Then slowly I found myself being much calmer and better aura. Even if I called your dad and he was harsh on me, I became much accommodating and much politer. Right. So from there, I met a lady. We moved into a bigger apartment, and I met a lady.
Had you given your life to Christ at this
No,
point?
I hadn't.
You're just going to church?
I'm just going to church.
Okay.
I had not given myself to life. But I'm just liking this Bible thing and this community. You know, at least there's no violence. There's music. There's sharing. You know, sometimes they would have Sundays with food and all of it. At least I've got family. So then from there we moved apartments. I don't know if you remember. From the ground floor where we were, we moved into an upstairs. It was a building. We moved into an upstairs. That's where I met Vasanta.
Yes. Yeah.
So I met this woman who used to take a bus with me as well. Then she started speaking to me about God again. So she started sharing with me, she started inviting me to church. But because I already had that foundation from Jeba, from Pastor Frank's church, I now easily go with this woman. I go with her to her church. Wow, I loved it. Went one Sunday, went another Sunday, and I just kept going. By then, the three of us are together because Whitney completed a matric.
Exactly.
She's coming to university, and she's coming to study in Johannesburg. So now I've got control of both my kids.
Right. So now the roles kind of like flipped. The first few years,
the primary,
primary and a bit of high school. It was dad with the two of us, and now it's your season to have the two of us.
You guys now are at university.
Okay.
1 year, Whitney is on her first year. You were just finishing your high school, so everything is perfect. I can afford. It's good. Life is good. I'm in church. I'm grounded. My life now starts becoming...
You've given your life at this point.
Yeah. Okay. My life starts becoming now more balanced. Because by then now, I became a born again. I got baptized in the water. I can now read the Bible. I'm going through a deliverance process. So now I start understanding myself. I found myself. Because now I have Christ in me.
Right.
So then I now start understanding what your father is going through. That's when now I got to wake up to say, life is spiritual.
Yeah.
Whatever I knew then, it's now started getting wiped off from my mind. I'm starting to look at my life in a spiritual way.
Right. So before this point, were you angry at daddy? Were you fighting him physically?
No.
Not physically, but I mean like phone, hey.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
Were you like...
Yes, I would threaten him. I'm going to call the cops on you.
Yeah.
You are an abuser because you don't buy food, you don't do this, you don't do that. I'm sending money to my kids, you're busy taking the money, you're taking the money from my kids, I'm working so hard here. I was very harsh.
Yeah.
Because remember, I don't know anything.
Exactly.
I'm working so hard, you're taking the money. You guys would say, Mom, we didn't go to a salon. Mom, we don't have pets. Mom, we don't have this. But how come? I'm sending money.
Okay.
You know? I'm sending money and nothing is happening. So it was frustrating. It was frustrating. And
once you gave your life to Christ now?
Once I gave my life to Christ, I'm much calmer. I'm literally feeling sorry for my husband. Now, by then, Daddy is really gone off. Completely off. He's over drinking. He's humanizing to the worst possible way. He's just gone. He is gone. But because now I have Christ in me and my life is now centered in Christ, I am now praying for this person. I'm now really pleading to God to say, please help my husband.
Okay.
Save him. Sober him. So I'm praying. And I'm praying for you and your sister because now I've got the two of you. You've never seen me going to church. Excuse me. You've never seen me opening a Bible. You've never seen me praying. I can still remember. I can't remember whether it was you or Whitney that tore the Bible when I used to pray, whatever.
I was Whitney.
Oh, okay. Cool. So Whitney tore the Bible. Yeah, you're making noise, man. What is this Jesus about? So I also understood that we were all under a spell.
Yeah.
You will not understand how spiritual marriage is or a relationship is unless you are grounded in Christ.
In Christ, yeah.
Unless you're grounded in Christ. Because everything that I went through with my husband, who's your father, it was spiritual. But I had no understanding. I could not understand. How can you go and fetch somebody's child from her family and bring her, unplant her from her country into a strange country and come here? You once loved, once provided, suddenly you don't provide, you don't care, you don't love. You're just this ugly person.
Yeah.
It can't be human. It can't be him.
Right.
Only when I was going through the deliverance process, once I started reading the Bible, once I knew how to pray and all of those things, then it started making sense. Right? It started making sense. Even I could now look at you and your sister and the way you guys were behaving, I had a far better understanding. I don't remember screaming or
Yeah.
I don't remember, or forcing you to go to church. I don't remember. I just knew time will come when God will really touch my family.
Yeah.
I just kept going.
Yeah.
You know, I kept going. I kept going. I never shared my life with my family. I never shared even with friends unless you were in the same journey that I was, which was having Christ in you. Then you would know my life.
Yeah. But I still remember, like, when you did give your life to Christ, we would see you praying, but you would never force us to do anything. And even before you had Christ in you, the one thing that I really appreciated from your side was you never spoke badly about Daddy to us.
He was never a bad person.
He was
never a bad person.
You never ran him down. You never said ugly things to him. You still respected him as our father, even though he was doing whatever it is that he was doing out there in the streets. So now that side of you was even more amplified when you gave your life to Christ.
Yes. And having given my life to Christ, I then started going back to Durban quite often. We started going as a family quite often.
Yeah.
And Daddy started mellowing.
Yeah.
You know? He started mellowing. But still, because he was not Christ-centered, the devil would not just release him.
Right.
He still belonged to the world.
Yeah.
Big time. He would still belong to the world.
Yeah.
But by then, sometimes he would come back to his senses, and he provided.
Yeah, he did, because he still took me to uni.
Yes. He provided. We both could sit and talk about school fees. We could talk about your graduation.
Yeah.
We could talk about you both without us having to raise our voices.
Yeah.
That when it came to you and your sister, we could sit, have a conversation. We could even call each other, have a conversation, and everything was fine.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
But it took prayers. It took a whole lot of work.
Okay. So now we now in approaching your 50th birthday.
Yes.
Right? And I remember you were very, very stern on when you turn 50, you want to go to, we've graduated, everything. Now, Daddy's salary is pretty much his, your salary is pretty much yours. Whitney, I think she already started working.
She started working already.
I also started working. Now you 50. I remember it was my first year working. I was 25, I think you were 50, because it was on the dot. So what happens for your 25th birthday? I know that this was a great milestone in your life.
So I always wanted to go either to Nigeria or Israel.
Yeah.
Remember, when I turned 50, I said I want to go to the Holy Land or to Nigeria. Because these were two places to me that had a spiritual meaning.
Right.
So I made it. I made it to Nigeria. I had my birthday there. It was perfect. It was the best. I had my birthday there. I visited Synagogue Church of All Nations. I got hosted by Prophet TB Joshua. I had the most beautiful birthday because I was with strangers, but yet family. Because it was a celebration in a church. It was a celebration with the Christians like me, and I can still remember. And I met a lady that was born in 1966 on the 8th of September. They were twin sisters.
Wow.
And the three of us had a birthday together. Prophet TB Joshua had a birthday cake for us because in that month or that week, we were the only 3 guests that had a birthday. We had a birthday cake. We had it was beautiful. I was supposed to be in Nigeria for, I think, 20 days. Yes, I was going to be there for 20 days. On my 50th day, I got a call.
The 15th day.
On the 5th day, I got a call. And while I was in synagogue for pilgrimation, my phone was never on.
Yeah.
But on that specific day, I just put my cell phone on, and Whitney phoned. Whitney phoned and says, "Hi Ma, how are you? Happy birthday. We tried to call you on the 8th. You didn't answer, blah, 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 blah. Mom, something very bad happened, but I don't want you to cut your trip short. And I just want you to know that Dad has had a stroke." Yes, Daddy has had a stroke. And I said, "Oh, okay. How bad?" Whitney says, "Very bad. But we have taken him to a hospital. He's in hospital. Latoya is on her way," because Whitney was the only one in Durban with Daddy, and you were in Johannesburg. You were traveling to Durban, and yeah, Mommy, this is what has happened. I said, "Okay." To my surprise, on that same day, at around 7:30 in the evening, I got called by Prophet TB Joshua. I went. They came looking for me. I went into the office, and he sat me down, and he calmed me, and he said to me that what I'm about to tell you, it is not to make you cry or be sad. It is for you and us to glorify God. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And he says to me, "Something has happened in your family right now. There is a sickness in your family right now. But my daughter, don't worry. This is the only way for your marriage to be restored and for your family to be restored. This is not to kill your husband. This is not to destroy your marriage. This is the only way that God is going to use and bring both of us together. This is a time for you to rejoice. I am giving you permission to leave with the next group, even though your journey is not finished, but I'm giving you permission to go." And I was like, how does he know? Because I hadn't shared with anybody.
Right. The phone call that with me.
No, I hadn't shared with anybody. So anyway, I listened. He prayed for me. He gave me some gifts, books, spiritual gifts he gave me. Then I had to go into my room. I packed, but I was calm. I was very calm. I'm sure you remember.
Yeah.
I was very, very calm. And I packed my bags, and then the very next day, I traveled back to South Africa. When I traveled back to South Africa, I had to stop in Johannesburg, and I had to go see my spiritual parents, because I was grounded at Impact for Christ Ministries, where I have a mother and a father, spiritual mother and a spiritual father, Prophet Philip Banda and Mam Tesha Banda. These were the two people that played a vital role in my life. These are the people that really guided me through my deliverance, that counseled me, all of those things. They were fully aware of my challenge. And they were the ones that have time and again told me, this is not about a divorce. This is not about your husband not loving you. This is not about your marriage having finished. This is spiritual. Don't leave.
And did it ever cross your mind to leave? Did you ever have...
Yes.
Right? Did you ever have any boyfriend side pieces on the side, or were you always kind of like waiting on the promise that God was going to restore?
I never had any affairs, because remember, I'm a married woman.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think I had the energy to do that, because my life was a mess.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would want to go in a much deeper mess.
Yeah.
So I solely focused on fixing myself. And my children mattered to me the most.
Yeah.
Not even my husband.
Yeah.
It was about my children. It was about me. Once I found myself, I got sober and I became much calmer, and I started now wanting to recover my family. Because I now understand that my marriage was under attack. Spiritual attack.
All right. So you're in Joburg, you go and see Prophet Philip Banda and Mam Tesha, and then?
I went to see Mom and Dad, and when I arrived, I first saw Mom, and I told Mom what is happening, and she was very calm. She's the most peaceful person that I've ever met. Yeah, she was very calm. And then I had an appointment to go and see Prophet Philip Banda. As you know, he's also my campus. My father, my campus, my mentor. I have never met anyone like that man. A true man of God. So anyway, I went to see him and I told him everything, and he said to me, can we pray over this and let's hear from God? So I went home in Johannesburg still. I went home, and the very next day I got a call from Prophet Philip Banda and Mam Tesha. I went from Prophet's office. I went, and Prophet said, go home.
Right. As in?
Durban.
Durban.
Go home. Go take care of your husband, because he is your husband, and this is God working his way towards your marriage.
Which means now Prophet T.
They were-
Joshua and Prophet Philip Banda were now saying the same
thing.
Okay.
So I go home. I resign from my work. I go home. I sell everything that I have. Put myself in my car. I drive to Durban. Get to Durban. The first thing I did, went home, dropped my car and everything. You guys came to fetch me. I went to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I did exactly what I was told to do. Lay my hands on my husband and pray. So I don't know if you remember when I got there, Daddy couldn't speak.
Yeah.
He was paralyzed on one side and he had no speech. Remember?
I remember, yeah.
But the minute I walked in the hospital and I laid my hands on Daddy, he looked and he smiled. Do you remember?
Yeah.
He looked and he smiled. And we just prayed for him. I just prayed for him. I prayed for him. Even the nurses were happy that, oh, that's your mother. Yeah. So everyone was happy. And I was very calm. I was very calm. I was in control of everything. And we started now the healing process of Daddy. He continued in hospital for, I think, a few days. Then I asked the doctor to release him, because I didn't want him to continue to be in hospital. He still did not recover his speech. He was not mobile. And you were preparing to come to China, am I correct?
Yeah,
your process was in motion.
Yeah, I think I started the process for China before.
Yes, it was before.
Yeah.
Because just as we brought him home, 2 days or 3 days, 2 or 3 weeks later, you were ready to leave.
No. The stroke happened in September.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yes.
I applied for China in October. I left the following March. I remember I left in March.
Okay. But by then, Daddy was still ill.
Yeah.
That's all I can remember.
I know
in a wheelchair.
He was in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
He could speak, because we still have the pictures.
Oh, he recovered. His speech had
speech
recovered.
was okay. He couldn't eat properly.
Yeah.
But he could speak. He was in the wheelchair. And yeah.
But by then, by the time you go to China, our family has reconciled.
Yes.
By the time Daddy wakes up, I was giving him therapy.
Yes.
By the time he recovers, Daddy now is back to his senses.
Yeah.
And not because he was ill.
Yeah.
No. That's because he received
God. 100%, yeah.
Now, you and your sister and myself and Daddy, we are recovered and we are stronger than ever. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So now things are now much better for us. Even though I'm not working, he's not working.
Yes.
But the love is back. The family is back. We can now sit and talk things together, and things are just falling the journey is now starting to be perfect.
Yeah.
So now there you are. Then Whitney buys her first property. She moves out, and then you go to China. Now I'm left with Daddy. It's Daddy and I at home. So I continue with my prayers. I continue with my fasting. I continue trusting God for everything. And I remember I had found a church, locally church, a CRC Durban, and I go to CRC. And I remember one morning I got up, and Daddy also got up with me, and he said he wanted to go to church. So before that, when Daddy got recovered a little bit, he said to me he would like to go to Johannesburg to go and meet Mom Tesha and Prophet. He wanted to personally go and thank them because he knows that the God that I have, my God, he used to call your God. The God that I have is the God that has brought his family together. We traveled to Johannesburg. We flew to Johannesburg. We stayed at Impact for Christ guest house. We got to meet the Prophet, Philip Banda and Mom Tesha Banda, and Daddy was happy. That's where he received his salvation. That's where Daddy got his altar call and gave himself to Christ. Then we came back to Durban, and Daddy now started reading his Bible. Daddy started following teachings on television and all of that. So now we are now both spiritual grounded. We're praying together, we're reading the Bible, we're following the sermons of Prophet T.B. Joshua and Prophet Philip Banda via the television. And Daddy is much happier now. The man I married came back times 2 because now Christ is part of that family.
Wow. All right. So this was now 2016 or 17, I remember, because I moved to China in 2017. And I think Daddy got sick
2016.
So from 2016 up until 2023, can you tell us briefly like what Daddy was like? How were those 7 years, and why do we call those the special 7 years? We can
So I call it a second gift from God, those years, because wow, I have never been that happier. It has been a very long time that I last remember myself wanting to be married, wanting to be in that house, I just hated everything. But now, from 2017 until the day that God called Daddy home, Daddy became the most loving, caring, considerate human being. It was like a new man got given to me. It was like a newborn man got given to us. I can still remember him calling you in China like 10 times a day, and calling Whitney as well 10 times a day. Something that when he was okay, he wouldn't even do it once. He remembered my birthdays. He remembered Valentine's days. He remembered Mother's Day. He remembered your birthdays. He remembered everything. He even wanted to cook for us. Even though he was not recovered 100%. He would ask me, please, love, can you please go buy this and this and this and this and the other? And one thing else, when he got liberated from this spirit of violence and stinginess and everything, Daddy gave me his bank card and his pen. I never knew how much your father earned.
Yeah.
I never knew his banking, his financial status. I never knew that.
And if you look back, that's the reason why the separation happened, because he started being more secretive and
Yes.
holding money and stuff.
But when he died, he would, I even said, no, I don't need your money, because I wasn't used to that. He was like, it's not my money. It's our money. In fact, this is your money. You my wife. I married you. I took you from your parents. I'm supposed to take care of you. And all these things that he would say, I'm like, huh? But yeah, that's who your father became. Buying presents, taking me for dinner. Do you remember when he reproposed?
Yeah.
He bought brand new rings. He had this, he booked us in a restaurant and everything, and he reproposed. Then the next thing, the world got to him again, and he came and I want my rings, and he took his rings again. It was just a hot mess.
Yeah.
But when he recovered out of this spiritual bondage, which is in both families, it is something that is there. Because he came from a divorced family. He came from a broken family. And even his brothers, they all divorced. It's a mess. Their relationships are a mess. All of that. I came from a place, even though my parents never showed exactly what I went through, but they ended up divorcing.
Yeah.
My brothers and my sisters, they don't have the most perfect marriages.
Yeah.
Right? So that's when I started understanding that marriage is spiritual.
Yeah.
Life is spiritual. There are things that are happening in a lot of marriage and a lot of people's lives, and people think that it's normal. It's not normal. Two people cannot one time in life love each other, and then the next thing they hate each other.
Yeah,
you even hate your children.
Right.
How is it possible?
Right.
It's not possible. But God, being merciful and being kind, He restored my family. We became the most closed family, happiest family, and Dad recovered. And that which we thought was going to kill him or take him, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
That's not what happened. One good weekend, I can still remember, it was on Saturday, he stopped drinking. He wouldn't even use sweary words or harsh words. He wouldn't.
Or raise his voice.
He wouldn't. That man that was there before, gone.
Yeah.
This is now polite, kind. I can still remember sometimes I'd say, hey, all this time when you didn't give me your money and your card, now you said take my card to me. He said, don't do that. You know, God is a restorer. I'm not the same man. I'm a different man. I am now a child of God. And I mean, take the card and go do whatever you want to do. Go do your hair, go do your nails, just go. Gina, just go. That would be him. So I would take the card. But it was hard for me to even accept being loved again. Because I was never.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. The years that I enjoyed my marriage were much shorter than the years that I got ill-treated.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to believe, but eventually I believed. So Dad and I became better. You can even see the pictures. Every birthday, every Christmas, you always wanted us to do something together and us as a family. But unfortunately, you guys have grown. You have your careers. You are where you are. Your sister is where she is. But with Whitney being in Durban, we still had quite good pictures. Which you missed because you were far. And unfortunately, in one good Saturday, I remember on Friday night, he just sat with me and he kept on saying to me, I'm just so glad that when I die, I'm not going to go to hell because I know God. God is my Father. God loves me. You know, I'm at peace. You will not suffer. You just so kind. You took care of me. I was so ugly to you. But I want to thank you. He would thank me every day. If he asks for a glass of water, I get a glass of water, I give it to him. Thank you. He asks for bread, or he asks for whatever he would ask, and I give it to him. He would never, ever, ever miss the word.
Sure.
Thank you. Bless you. Thank you. Bless you. And it was not an act. It was real.
Yeah.
So that Friday, we were together. He made me sit next to him in bed. He said, don't lie, just come sit here. So I sit next to him, and he starts thanking me. He starts saying things that it couldn't, to me, it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I go, he never said die.
Yeah.
So if I go to be with God, take care of yourself, you know, don't allow people to abuse you, don't allow any man to come and abuse you, you know, everything that is here, it's yours. I know you're a strong woman. You will not need a man to take care of you because you got God. You know you're strong, Gina.
Yeah.
You're strong, Gina. Oh, you're so strong. And thank you for leading me to Christ. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for never leaving me. Thank you. You know, even my family had abandoned me, but you came back and you took care of me. Look at me, I'm so clean. I smell fresh. It just kept on going on that day. This was now us having to sleep Friday going into Saturday.
Yeah.
So around 3 or 3:30 a.m., that's when he started getting these convulsions. You know, I gave him a first aid. I managed to take him and put him in the car. I called Whitney. I said, Whitney, please, you have to come. Whitney came. She drove, because from Whitney's house to our house is like 10 minutes. So Whitney drove that time of the night. And I called his other good friend, Madala, to come and help me as well, because Daddy was quite heavy. So eventually we managed to put him in a car, and we drive to a hospital. We get to a hospital, he gets admitted, he receives the help that he has to receive. But I remember when they first took him and they placed him in this unit care room, I remember him saying to me, don't worry, don't cry. Because I started crying. And he says to me, don't worry, don't cry. I am not going to die. Then I was like, okay, Carlo, don't speak. He was like, don't cry, don't worry. So I just tried to be stronger for him. Then I went out. Whitney came in. Whitney was so hysterical. And Whitney was just crying, and Daddy, wake up, Daddy, wake up. And he would open his eyes. Then I remember we made a phone call to you. But by then he was not speaking. Yeah. So we made a phone call to you. We showed you your father, and you prayed with us. We prayed with him. Then his health just was touch and go. That was Saturday, then Sunday, then Monday, around 2 o'clock. I went to a hospital. I got there, and he was very calm and very peaceful. But by then they had already put him on life support. He had pipes and everything. He was only speaking with his eyes. When I walked into the room, I greeted him. I said, "Hi, love." Then he just rolled his eyes to signal that I can hear you, I can feel you. Then he showed me, he just went like this. Then I said, "Do you want me to shave?" Then he just rolled his eyes. I said, "Okay." So I had brought all that. I shaved him, and one nurse came into the room and said, "But we already gave him a bath and everything." I said, "No, I want to give my husband a bath." So I gave him a bed bath. Then I changed his pajamas again. by myself. I did that because Whitney, it was during COVID, so we couldn't be together in a room. So I did all of this. I put in his favorite perfume around him. I spoke to him. I prayed for him. I hugged him. I kissed him. Then when it was 5 minutes for the end of the visiting time, I ran downstairs. I called Whitney. Whitney went up. Whitney still saw him, spoke to him, even though he wasn't speaking, but she did whatever she did. Then Whitney came down. So when Whitney came down, after that, we had a conversation. We were supposed to come for the 8 o'clock visit, 8 p.m. visit. So then Whitney and I went home, but Whitney had to go back to her house because she wanted to get some changing clothes. So she drives to her home. I drove to our house. I get home, I put my car in the garage, I closed the garage, and then I just went into the house and I sat, in my couch. I sat there. I was feeling so exhausted. I just sat and I was so exhausted. I just sat. The next thing, my phone rings. As I'm sitting to release this exhaustion from me, my phone rings. And when my phone rings, it was a doctor saying to me, Mrs. Gabriel, how far are you? I said, I'm already home. And the doctor said, I need to see you urgently. So I get into a car and I quickly called Whitney. I said, Whitney, please meet me at the hospital. The doctor wants to see me, but just come. So I'm driving to the hospital. My phone rings again. So by then I'm maybe 5 minutes to the hospital. And the doctor says, Mrs. Gabriel, how far are you? I said, I'm 5 minutes. Then the doctor says, are you on a highway or are you? I said, no. The nurse says, are you on a highway or are you? I said, no, I'm not on a highway. Would you like me to park? She says, no, just drive. So I drove as fast as I could. When I get to the hospital, I go up. He was on the 7th floor. When I get there, they sit me down and said, we just lost him. I was very, very sad because he had recovered. But I was comforted with the fact of knowing that Daddy got to accept Christ. To me, that was the best gift ever. Because when I became saved, I always thought about him and you and your sister not knowing Christ. I knew the pain that it would cause me.
Yeah.
Because when one passes, there is what the world calls funeral.
Yeah.
When you're not grounded in any house spiritually, who conducts your burial? Nobody will. I would have to conduct that. And that's not fair on me. So all these things used to go through my mind. But what I forgot is that God had control over everything.
Yeah.
And for his journey to end like that, to me, that was the most perfect thing.
Yeah.
That gave me peace. And it was easy for all of us. Yeah. It was so easy. Because all these years before he received Christ, he would say, when I die, take my body back to Mozambique. Take me to my country. Hey, 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 woo, woo, woo. But when he received Christ, he said, don't even bother. Because my spirit will be with my Father in heaven. I don't want to be transported from left to right. I don't want to create expenses for my wife or my family. I want to be cremated, and I want you guys to be at peace. And that's exactly what happened.
Sure. And that's exactly what the two men of God had told you, that the 7 years of restoration and redemption isn't to break down the family, or it's not a sickness, but it's kind of like a calm in the water in order for our family to restore, to be restored.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, that story, it's like, it never gets old.
No, look, even with me, you know, when it's like it's a ministry to me now. You know me, I love people. And when young couples come to me and they crying, mostly ladies and guys do come to me and they start crying about their marriage not working. I want a divorce, I want this. I never offer divorce. I have questions before I can counsel. My question around such challenges in marriage is, are you guys saved? Is Christ part of your family or your marriage? Because if Christ is not the foundation of your marriage, which is, you know, marriage is one institution where God is part of. He is the founder of that. And when he's not a founder of that, then you're just two people trying to navigate something that is not going anywhere. That's how I was. But once there's Christ there, whatever you're going through, you can find answers biblically. As long as there's no violence. My husband never lifted his hands on me. He was never violent. The abuse that was there was mental, financial. But again, once I started understanding that the devil can never destroy what is ugly, he can only destroy what is beautiful. My marriage was very beautiful and very blessed. Even before I received Christ, I was happy. I know what it is to be happy in marriage. I knew. But then suddenly, doors got open to the devil. Money is not evil, but what you do with money can become evil. Because now, when we were less fortunate and when we had less money, we were the best friends ever. But once money started becoming more in my home, in our household, Daddy just lost it. He had a lot of money. He wasn't a millionaire or billionaire, but he had money enough to pay for hotel room where he would go with his concubines. He had money to pay for alcohol. He had money to take them out. Because when he didn't have, he was a man of work, homework. Remember, Daddy used to cook. Daddy used to bake. We used to be the four of us at home on the table, sitting and eating and everything. We did everything together. But once money started being part of his life, he just lost it.
So what would be your advice to a young couple, married young couple, those seeking to get married, those that are in marriages, those that are going through like a tough time in their marriage right now? What would be your advice to them about life in general, especially when you're in a covenant, marital covenant?
Okay, so I would say, firstly, for those who are not yet married, you cannot get a partner hoping that he or she will change. They say birds of the same feather flock together. Right. So if there is no Christ in you and in her, or in both of you, I think that relationship can kind of just go along. Because you don't know anything. There's distraction. But then if he might be a born again and she might not be a born again, that is also a recipe for disaster. Because the foundation of any relationship, and especially when it comes to a union, God is the leader of that union. So if there is no God who is the ordainer of that relationship, your marriage will never survive. Your union will not survive. Because of a house or a home that does not pray and does not have a consultation, which is the Bible, first, where are you going to find solution? Everything that we need, it's in the Bible. The Bible is a campus for your moral, for your spiritual, even for your physical.
And your finances.
Everything is there. So I'm not saying being Christians, you don't get attacked in your marriage, or you don't, you're not gonna disagree. You will disagree, but divorce is not of God. The only people that are allowed to remarry are widows, or if you happen to get caught in act of adultery. If you catch your wife or if you catch your husband, you are allowed to divorce and remarry. But not because we don't get along, you don't give me a lift in your car, you don't speak to me, you don't buy me roses, you don't this, I want a divorce. No, it's not like that. And again, when you get to meet a person whom you want to marry, do a little bit of homework, find out this person's hurts, childhood will help you, growing up will help you. Because sometimes, like for instance, with me and Daddy, even though we came from broken homes, we didn't know each other's pasts. We didn't know. And that plays a vital role. If I don't know your childhood past, I won't know that once you got molested, once you got raped, once your father was such a violent person that you got abused. Your father never knew what it was to greet you while growing up. Your father never knew what it was to say, well done, my child. Your father was never there for your child, for you when you were going to school, or when you finished your high school, your matric, for your birthdays, for all of that. Yet I came from a home where these things were there. We're not going to agree. Because I won't have an understanding as to why don't you wish me a happy birthday? Why don't you greet me in the morning? Why don't you make me a sandwich? Why can't you make me a cup of tea? Because if I came from a home where these things were there,
to you it's normal.
But if I take the time while we're courting to understand all those things, that can be a plus into our relationship. So God has to be part of your relationship. To me, that is a key. If I knew then what I know now, I don't think I would have gone through the hardships that I went through.
Right.
And no, I would not wish that upon anybody. It's the most horrible thing to go through. Yeah, it's terrible.
And I think one of the things that I really learned from this whole your story with Daddy is the way that you dropped everything and lived up to your vows that said in sickness and in health, through rich and in poor. Because the moment
for rich or poor.
Yeah, because the moment that Daddy fell sick, you literally dropped everything, and you were in a good position. You had everything. You had just bought a car. So you
had a life.
You had a life, and knowing that Daddy had his own life with his own concubines, you dropped everything to honor that vow that you made to God, which was you were going to look after Dad until his final breath, and that's exactly what you did. So that's my takeaway that I got from that season. And yeah.
And if I for anyone who might be watching or listening to this, to me is a teaching about my life. This is not to say that my husband was a monster. He was a very good man. And it's about us inviting Christ into our homes and marriages. And as a married woman, it is a duty that a mother has to pray for her family, to pray for her home and her husband. Because out there are different spirits, you know. And if we don't cover our husbands or we don't cover our homes with the blood of Jesus, they get lost. Yeah, they get lost. This is reality of life.
Whether Christian or not, or
you just have to be on guard. You have to be on guard as a mother, as a wife, as a mother. You have to be on guard. And this does not mean that I am responsible for you as my husband and you as children, but a woman has a far better chances of being the keeper, the gatekeeper. The man is a provider and the woman can be the gatekeeper. So I understood then that I had to be the gatekeeper. I had to be a gatekeeper. Because even though when daddy was ill, people still, those same concubines, they still tried to come. But because I was there and I was praying, I could easily see, so, who's this?
Yeah.
What is this? You know, I could easily see. So my word of advice out there is seek God. Seek God, seek His wisdom, seek His understanding. Make your home a place where the Holy Spirit can dwell. And again, this thing of when we have problems, we run to friends and share. It's the worst that one can do.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the friends which you think they are friends, they are the same ones sleeping with your husband or sleeping with your wife or wanting a distraction in your household. I have an experience of that. Yeah. So you don't run to a fellow human being, but you run to Christ. If you have spiritual parents, you will also see them that this is a couple that are grounded. Mamtesha and Prophet Philip Banda, they met years ago and they are a husband and wife. When you look at such, that can be an example of being able to counsel you. Because they are the mirrors themselves. So you want that for yourself. You can't go and get a counseling from a pastor, be it female or a male pastor, that he has gone through 10, 20 divorces. How does that happen? How does that work? That shouldn't be a counselor to yourself. It's a wrong counseling. Yeah. So I am now able to counsel. I'm a widow that has gone through every form of challenge, but yet stayed and trusted in God to the end, to a final end. And I lost a friend. I lost a friend, my best friend, my companion, my husband. I miss him dearly. And your father. Yeah. Who was your friend as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
Would you get married again?
Will you allow me?
I don't know. If he's
You asked the question.
I mean, if he knows God and if he's really, really, really rich, maybe.
What do you call rich?
He must be wealthy. He can't be taking you back into poverty.
No, well, forget it.
He doesn't know God, if he's asking you to borrow him money, no. But if he can take you on holidays and treat you better than daddy could, financially and spiritually, then fine.
I don't think anyone will match daddy.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone will match, because it's not going to be fair on the person that I might decide to give an opportunity.
Yeah, but he can't take you back.
No, he can't. I wouldn't say yes or no that I will get somebody or not getting somebody. Remember, it's not good for man or woman to be alone. Okay? I cannot always say that you and your sister are going to be there for me. Right? I have a life of my own. Like now, for instance, I'm running my business. I've got a house. I've got my own car. What if I get ill? What if I want to go out for dinner? I can't just be going into a restaurant by myself and order a plate for one. I might as well just cook at home.
Yeah.
So sadness, it won't be good for me. And being alone, you can be sad.
Yeah.
I found myself here with you. I've even put on 3 kilos. Why? Because I'm with you, I feel happy. Yet when I'm alone, I just keep on losing weight, because all I do is go to the business, come back, go run, go jog, go. So I'm not happy alone. So I would. Yeah, my answer would be yes.
Yeah. If a good
How
man,
soon? I can't say.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. You want to pray out? Okay.
And I think you need to really accept it.
Accept what?
That I might find
No, if you
I haven't found anybody.
Yeah, but if you find someone, I wouldn't mind. No, I wouldn't mind, but I would mind if he's like taking you backwards. I wouldn't want that. He has to be someone that can give you princess treatment.
Queen, you mean?
Yeah, queen. Then, by all means, he takes you to Malaysia, Seychelles, fine. Go.
You've been materialist.
I'm not being materialistic.
If he takes me to Jerusalem, okay.
Yeah, also
Yeah.
stop over after Seychelles.
Yes.
But if he doesn't bring anything to the table, I don't know why.
I think he has to be a God-fearing man.
Yeah, that's the first step.
Respectful.
Yeah.
Because to me, what matters, values, morals, principles, and be grounded in Christ.
100%. Then
I don't mind.
And if it's God,
money is not everything.
Yeah.
Because I have experience of money can be a distraction. So I don't think money is everything.
Yeah.
After all, I can make my own money.
100%. I love that for you. But we just need someone. We can't be eating pap forever.
Do I eat pap forever? Do you see this, guys? Can you see the pap here? No, I can take care of myself.
You can.
But yeah, I would want to be loved again. I would want to be spending my time with somebody who loves me for who I am, for what I am, and move along with me with my Christ. Then I don't have a problem.
Awesome. All right, let's close in prayer and
Are you okay?
We can pray.
All right. Father, we thank you. We give you honor and we give you praise. We glorify your holy name, O Lord. You have been my greatest source of impact in life. You have been my compass. You have been the carrier of my pain, my sorrow, and my joy. Lord, I pray right now that anyone that might come across this message that is yours, the story, my story, which is your story, that you have been part of, may they receive healing in their marriage, in their relationships. And Father, I pray that even though I still navigate this life as a widow, may you continue being with me, guiding me, providing me with the eyes that I can see that which you have planned for me. I bless your holy name, O Lord. May you be glorified in all what my daughter is doing through this channel and through her clothing. May the name of Christ continue being elevated. I give you praise, I give you honor in Jesus' mighty name. Bless every single person that will be listening to this podcast. Amen.
So thank you, Mommy, for blessing this channel. And like we said, we hope that this word blesses you. I know it's a bit lengthy. Take your time to stop wherever you need to. Break it down in days if you have to. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully this isn't the first and last video. Hopefully she'll drop more gems in future. And from us, we'd like to say shalom. See you in the next video.
Just before you cut, this is an opportunity for you to also follow me on Facebook. I have my own juice business. It is Gina's Juices. And you can also find me on Facebook as Gina Gabriel. I do love making friends. I do love sharing my day-to-day happenings. I love running. I love swimming. I love a whole lot of outdoor activities. So do follow me.
If you're in Durban, they can visit your store.
Yes, if you happen to be in Durban, do visit me. My shop is based in Morningside. And and my business number is 083 9939437. My email address is ginamagushgabriel@gmail.com. On Instagram, you can follow me. It's Gina Gabriel. I am connected.
Are we done?
Yes.
Okay.
We're done. Shalom.